listening to What I Know For Sure, the podcast. I'm your host, Callie, and this podcast is all about what we know for sure and the lessons we learned in the midst of what we didn't know for sure. If you are looking for a space to be loved on and hear hard truths, then stick around. This is the podcast for you. Welcome back, babe. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you now?
How are you now? Good, and you?
Not so bad.
So if anybody doesn't get that, that's a Letterkenny reference. And also, if you hear the cat, she is on the table. As most of you know or have been in my calls, the cat just makes her appearance, and so she's creating a buffer on the mic. So if you hear her, that is what it is. But I thought it would be great, grand idea to bring Christopher back to the podcast. He hates it when I call him Christopher. And I really wanted to talk about, I guess maybe this was brought up on how impactful it was when we started talking to Michael and Taylor. So Michael is Christopher's brother. Taylor is about to be Michael's bride.
Don't stop dating.
And then the second one was...
Always check in.
Yeah. We do ours weekly on
Every
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll start with sort of how it came about in our marriage. We have both been married previously, and as toxic as those were, we learned a few things, and we learned a lot about each other when we got together. And some of the things that we learned was, and if you can hear my dog in the background, he is snorting the ground because that's what he does. Back on topic. I think when you get together, you either subconsciously or consciously bring a lot of... Sometimes when you get in the thick of the marriage, you don't realize what those are until... Sometimes when you are in the thick of it, you don't realize all the baggage that you carry with you. And people either make one of two choices, right? They either choose to continue that baggage and let it be a part of their marriage, or they decide to create new habits and form new mental framework for the marriage that they're in. Would you agree?
I would agree.
So,
I concur.
I have a few questions for you. My first question is, because this was sort of your idea, was the weekly check-in. We can start with that one. It came about because we were struggling. I think struggling for connection, but also struggling with trying to find being in the same step. And so I remember when we had this conversation and you said, what if we did a weekly check-in? So talk to us about that. What was your reasoning for doing that?
I mean, it's easy to be complacent. You know, you go through the normal day-to-day stuff. You know, you get up, get ready for work, go to work, come home, you know, talk to each other for a couple minutes, have dinner, get ready for bed, wash, rinse, repeat. Sometimes you need just a moment to unload, to vent, whether it's things you missed and just, hey, how was your day, or something that's bothering you that your significant other is doing, or, you know, just making sure they're okay, whether it be financially, mentally, physically.
No, I agree. I think that we had gotten into a place where it was just like we were coming home and how was your day? And this is still when I was working in corporate. So we both were getting home 5:30. Sometimes you work until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And it was like we were high-fiving in the hallway because you get up at 4:30 and you're up and out the door before I even think about getting out of bed, even when I worked at 9 to 5. So it had just become, and I think for me, when we started doing that, it had been something to look forward to during the midweek. And maybe it opened my eyes a little bit more to see the areas that we were talking about, to look for things that I could talk about in that area. So, what are the 4 areas that we check in on?
How are we doing financially? How are we doing mentally? How do we feel physically? And how we as a couple, as a married couple, are doing.
Yeah. So let's start with financially. I think we're a little bit unique. Not every married couple functions as we do. So we have all of our finances separate. Some bills are in my name, some bills are in your name. And basically, how it works is you give me a set number of money, and I'm the bill payer and keep the house churning. And you pay your bills, and then I pay my bills, and that's what works for us. Some people have all of their finances together, and that's fine too, but
it works for us. I mean, it wouldn't bother me either way. This is just what we were doing before we were married, and I guess maybe if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Yeah. I haven't really explained it on this podcast, but I am back into powerlifting, and so I think it's nice to have not only my coach that I check in with, but also my husband, just because I know that he cares
Duh.
on how I'm doing. And even though Chris's health check-in is, I'm tired, mentally tired, because by Wednesday you're just cashed out.
Yeah, just looking forward to Friday.
Yeah, because it's a lot of outdoor time, out in the sun time, and even in the winter, out in the winter time, and it just being out in the weather elements, people don't realize what a toll it takes on you. And so health, wealth. Yeah, we touched on that. And
I ain't
then
retired yet.
You're not retired yet. That's what he always says. And then checking in on us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a really good place to bring discomfort up. If your spouse is leaving the seat up 4 times during the week, that's the point where you say, you know what, it just sort of bothers me that you leave the fucking toilet seat up. And like, how can I help you not leave that up anymore, because it bugs the shit out of me. But then also deeper issues. I think sometimes our weekends sometimes get a little bit hairy.
We do one of 2 modes on the weekend. It's go, 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 or we don't leave our recliners.
Literally. We're 35 and we have recliners. Come at us. It's fine.
I love my recliner.
Yeah.
And I fought it so hard.
He did fight it so hard. And I was like, you know what?
He just showed up one day and I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
It is the best thing ever, because it's like the actually furniture, extra wide, big, but I think it's actually called the big boy recliner, which is glorious. And
especially for me.
Yes. I mean, he's 6'4". He's a tall dude. So he needs a big chair.
I'm a big dude, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it fits my little body quite fine. So I feel like a little, I don't know.
Like you're sitting in a booster seat?
Yeah, pretty much. My feet do not touch the ground. But I think it's important to really come to your spouse with literally anything that is hanging over the head. And that's sort of like a safe space that we create, where it's, you just let it all out. Very rarely do we talk about work. We do a little bit, in the sense of, we don't love this aspect of our job, or someone did something that wasn't great. I'm trying to be diplomatically correct here, because
you never know who's listening.
So, we bring all of the tough things. So that's, did we leave anything out of that one? Mentally. Yeah. Checking in mentally. I think that that's also been huge for me. I'm a crier, so probably almost every session that we've started, I've cried at some point, which is fine. Everything's fine. Imagine the dumpster fire behind me. But I think too, we had, your sister passed away. We had
Flood.
the flood. We've had a little bit of PTSD with the flood. We've had
Ramifications 18 months later after the flood.
yes, your aunt passing, just a lot of things. And since our marriage in 2019, I had to calculate.
We didn't get married in 2019. Man.
We didn't.
We got married in 2020.
Since our marriage in 2020,
you can go ahead and leave that rate in that podcast.
Since our marriage in 2020, we have just had a lot of shit. I think it's been super helpful for us just to be able to have the space because our lives become very routine. I just really want it to be important that if you are with a spouse who is not willing to do the weekly check-in, maybe it would be a good idea to just pick a day out of the week and just ask your person those questions. And slowly it'll become they ask those questions too. That came before.
That was my favorite night of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it is.
Yeah, we still do that. Friday is date night, usually, unless somebody's gone or at a function or kid things. But Friday night is usually our night where we go and grab some food and we try and change it up, right? Where we're not going
the same places over and over.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about Midland. There's a lot of smaller, out of my norm of what I like. I don't like every place we go to, but I'm willing to at least give it a shot. There's a couple places, no more.
No more.
And a couple more, we're like, yeah, we got to go back there again.
Yeah, like the taco place downtown.
And
that was a jam.
And the pizza place.
And the pizza place. Oh, God,
and
pizza.
The Thai place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like last night, sometimes it's simple as going to a Friday Night Lights game, grab some food, some quick food on the way home afterwards. Shout out to Taco Bell.
Shout out to Taco Bell.
Love me some Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. We usually try to plan an activity too, which COVID threw a big wrench in that. We went almost a year without even being able to really do date night.
Yeah.
Couldn't go in to eat anywhere. Couldn't do any sort of activity. Couldn't even go to the movies. But it's time away from our children. It's time away from work. It's time specifically designed for us. And I feel like that's very important to both of us.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I enjoy about it the most is very rarely do we talk about the children. And that has been, we talk about the most random things. We will say that.
Sometimes I'd say probably most of the time, it's not anything serious.
Right. I think that that's important too, is if you have children and you're taking that dedicated time for your marriage and for yourself. Let me say that again. For your marriage and for yourself. Your children are not part of your marriage. Your marriage is a secular thing that your children have been born out of. And so when you talk about being together with your spouse, it is, and if you're not religious or whatever, like the center of your marriage are you two, not talking about what you're going to do next week with the kids or what have you. That's a whole other check-in.
Timmy's got t-ball and Sabrina's got soccer and
right. I would recommend probably moving that to like a Sunday family thing if that's their jam and that's what you guys need.
And that's one thing, even as a whole family, that is important to me, which is a little different with my son, now that he's 18 and he works full time, but doing it like a Sunday family dinner, where all of us can spend time together, typically during the summer, well, hell, even during the winter, because, me, I don't care. I'll grill steaks year round. It's important to me at the very least, to sit down and have dinner as a family.
Yeah.
I feel like that's important for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so easy for new families who are blended or not to create those little habits. They don't necessarily have to be these quote unquote traditions. But, when our kids flee the nest,
Bye.
we're counting down the years till that happens,
Bye.
till they become adults. But they know
When
that
the
if
hell am
they
I gonna
need
become
a Sunday meal, we're sitting down at a certain time and having a meal and they're welcome. But I think it can be challenging when you have come from a previous marriage into a blended family now to really identify what those norms are going to be for your new family that you have. Would you agree?
what the hell's normal?
Right.
What may be normal for us may not be normal for somebody else. What's normal for somebody else may not even be close to normal for us.
Yeah. So let's not look at the highlight reel on IG when they have the perfectly curated pictures and all of those things.
Don't mind that cat.
Don't mind that cat. We have both cats on our table right now. It's fantastic.
It's been a long week, though.
It's been a long week.
We still got 2 more weeks before we can finally really settle in for fall.
Yeah.
Between me going away next weekend, the past month going from code enforcement issues to landscaping twice, having everything pulled out and then redone. And then, this past week having our floors redone. We haven't really had a break in a while.
No.
The last break we had is when we went out of town.
Yeah. And I think even like through those things too, I'm going to spin in a third piece of advice is we're on the same team. Mm-hmm. And so when things get hairy, when everybody is juggling all the things and answering the phone calls and scheduling the contractors and scheduling people to come and inspect, it's really easy. And I know that I have done this to you, to just get snappy and to just come at it because like you're just really, really frustrated, not at that person. Like that energy was never directed towards you. It was just the overwhelm. But all I had to do was ask for help. Mm-hmm. And you were right there to just, okay, I will do the thing, whatever it was. And I think that sometimes as women, we get caught up in being the doers and being the scheduler and being all the things. And the famous question is, how do you do it all? Well, you don't do it all because you don't have to do it all. And if you're blessed with a partner, they don't know what they don't know. And so you get to ask them for help because that's what your partner is there for.
If you don't tell me there's an issue, I don't know.
And you can't fix it.
I'm not a mind reader. I can pick up on some pretty subtle hints. I know when you're miffed at me.
Miffed. What a word.
I may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. I can pick up on things and you tell me nothing's wrong. I know better. If you just tell me, we can discuss and figure out what the true issue is and move along from that. Correct, fix, adjust, whatever vernacular you choose to use. It's my word of the day.
Vernacular?
Vernacular.
It's quite a big word. Do you know how to spell it?
I'm pretty sure I could spell it correctly.
Go.
VENUCLAR.
I think it's VENACULAR.
How to spell?
He's literally Googling this right now. If this is just an insight to our marriage.
VERNACULAR.
Oh, we didn't include the R. Neither one of us did. But I got the rest of it right. Every now and again, my little English comes out. That's fine. So on that note, do you have any other recommendations for these fine folks listening?
Good piece of advice, marriage-wise. Do things just because.
As we're looking at my flowers on the table. Yeah.
And they're pretty flowers too.
Just because.
Just because.
Yeah. Don't expect anything in return.
Nope.
Because that's not what love is.
Make 100% sure you leave time for each other.
Your marriage, our marriage, is the number one most important thing. When the kids leave, when the dogs die, it'll be you and me.
Oh, Lord.
And so you have to make sure that the person that you are investing time with is the person that when all the noise goes away, you're not looking at them going, who are you? What?
And I see that so much in other people. Not even necessarily people we know, but just like at the football.
Oh, the divorces. 2020 COVID. I mean, can we just talk about that? Like, how many divorces are coming out of that? Because when you're in a house together and you cannot leave, and John is not going to his 9 to 5, and Susie's not going to her 9 to 5, and they're not high-fiving each other in the hallway to go pick up the kids from soccer, where does that leave you? I mean, really think about that. Like, we are so fortunate.
I've done a lot of wrong things in my life, but circling back to us, and I guess making it us was probably on the short list of things I've done 100% right. We're definitely lucky and blessed. Definitely lucky and blessed.
You said it was it this morning or last night? It was this morning when you said,
You're standing out in the garage.
Where would we be?
Because it was something I was already divorced. I was already, on my own. I was a big boy. I could do my own laundry and pay my own bills. And
you can do your laundry, but you can't do mine.
Well, that's because you got weird laundry. I knew how to clean my own house.
Yeah,
I was a grown boy.
Mm-hmm.
And some lady just happened to post a picture on Instagram, and
some lady that you've known over half your life.
More than that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a little over 20 years that we've known each other. Posted something on Instagram, and I wasn't shooting my shot as you think I say I was.
He really was.
I really wasn't. I just commented on it, and
away we are.
Here we are.
Do you ever look around and go, why me? Why us? Why now?
Everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit there and ponder the reason.
I
Not
do
when
look
it's
around.
Something this right.
I do look around when sometimes when we get out of bed in the morning and go, wow, like we have a beautiful home, we have beautiful animals, beautiful children.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. Then there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What do you think is the most difficult thing in a marriage?
Dealing with your attitude.
Somehow I knew that was going to be your answer, and he's not wrong.
No, you really don't have an attitude. You're just very strong opinioned, and much like me, when you think you're right, you will fall on that sword.
You mean when I know I'm right?
When you think you're right.
I come in with receipts, though.
There's been a few times I disproved you, and you still didn't want to believe it.
That's also true.
So, like I say, I stand by what I said. You will fall on that sword.
I will.
I'm not dismissing the fact that I'm much the same way, but no. The most difficult thing in the marriage, it's very easy to become very complacent, and having the wherewithal and the foresight to keep that from being an issue.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Yeah. Complacency, I think, is the number one.
Complacency will kill a marriage.
Absolutely. More so than any other money issue or being exhausted from doing the kid thing. Being complacent probably is number one on the list.
I've been from the poorest of poor to making very good money to, being in between and everything in between. Money comes and goes. The big thing is who's by your side and who notices you struggling and notices, hey, what the fuck you got going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's always more money to be made.
Yeah.
Money just does not indeed buy happiness.
No, it'll buy a divorce though.
And that was the best money I ever fucking spent.
Yeah. Final question. What do you know for sure?
And it's going to be a tough year for the Maize and Blue. That I hope, as long as we get 2 wins this year, I don't really care. And as long as we beat Michigan State and Ohio State, I'll be a happy camper. It's going to be a struggle. I'm not even counting on the Lions to put up more than 5 wins looking at their schedule. Other than that, what I know for sure is nothing, that's for sure.
And that's a look into our marriage.
Go Blue. Go Blue.